everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be diving into fundamental concepts of programming. We will be looking at functions. Functions are an essential tool for any programmer, and understanding how to create them and use them can greatly improve your code readability and efficiency. So what are functions? Simply put, a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Think of it as a mini program within your program. Instead of writing the same code over and over, you just define a function and you include the repeated block inside of it, because this way you keep your code clean and as we like to say, dry, meaning that you don't repeat yourself. You can write a function and call it whenever you need. Yeah, the syntax of a function is like the following. Let us write a basic function. We do def and you give it a name, any name you want. For example, first function, just a made up name. And here you do something, for example, we're printing something like hello from function. Alright, so what am I saying here? I'm having a function here named first function, and inside of it I'm only printing a string that says hello from function. That's all I'm doing. This is our code. Nothing's supposed to happen because I'm not calling the function, but I want to show you that first. Let's go for by. As you can see, nothing happens. I don't get any results because in order for this function to get executed, I have to call it outside of the function block. For example, I call it with its name, which is, well, first function, and we end this with this two brackets. Oh, just like this. And now if I do the same thing, I get hello from function because I called the function here and I got inside of it and did whatever is written inside. Yeah, so there is this def. This doesn't appear because of the IDE. Well, there's like the def keyword here and then the name. The def keyword is used to define a function followed by the function name, which we have here. We can also pass some parameters here, like I can pass some data from here and receive it here and use it inside of the function block. Let's say, for example, well, let's enter something like give it a parameter, and here I can print the parameter that I have. And here when I call the function, I have to pass that parameter in the inside of the brackets. For example, it's type dope coders save. I'm supposed to get hello from dope coders, which I guess there's an extra space here which is unneeded. Exactly. So what's happening here? I'm just having a parameter. There is a it's like a variable that is defined inside of the function, and here I'm giving it a value. I'm assigning a value to it so that it is executed. It's of course the parameter is optional. You can give it or just ignore it. You know, if you need a parameter, you just add it, and if you don't need it, then you don't use it. Yeah, it can be used to pass data into the function. The code inside the function is indented. Of course, here we have 4 indentations. You can customize these based on your IDE. I have 4 spaces here as the indentation because as you can see, it's like a loop or if statements. You have to keep a certain number of spaces here in order to indicate that this over here is a block that belongs to the function, which in our case is called first function. Yeah, there's another thing about the function is the return keyword. The return keyword is like is like a thing that we do in order to send the value back to the caller. For example, here I have first function, I'm passing a dope coder. If I want to return this string instead of printing it, I can just get the this value first. Let me copy this, go down, and I do this like return, and I tell it whatever I want to return here, and it's at like this. I have an extra one here. This one is supposed to go here. Oh, not here, just like this. Yeah. So what am I saying? Let me get rid of this one. I'm giving the parameter and I'm returning hello from parameter. So here, in order for me to see the returned value, I have to store it in a variable. Let's call it results, and let's print our results. Alright, I'm supposed to be getting the same thing. Exactly. We're just using a return statement in order to return the value back to the caller, nothing more. Yeah, well, let us do some examples in order to get this notion really understood. Let's look at an example of a function that adds two numbers and returns the result. Let's call it add numbers for short. As we mentioned, we do the def keyword, then the name of the function, which is in our case add numbers. Add numbers, we're going to give it two parameters this time. The first number, let's call it num1, and num2. We separate the parameters by a comma. Yeah, and we do our column, and we indent by four spaces or a tab. Then let's define a variable. It's called sum, because we're going to calculate the sum of these two numbers, and give it num1 plus num2. Straightforward. We're just adding these two numbers and storing them in the sum variable. And now I have to return this sum in order to receive it. Return sum, just like that. So if I want to test this, I can like print it directly. I'll just use add num and pass it two numbers, example 2 and 5. I can repeat the function as many times as I want, and this is where functions come handy, because you can reuse them and give them different arguments or parameters each time you need them. Alright, save, run. Alright, looks like we made a mistake somewhere. The name I isn't defined. Yeah, my bad. Here, let's test again, funcPy, and I get 797, which is the sum of the following numbers over here. Yeah, it's really simple. I mean, I believe the code is understood. All we did is define a function called add numbers that takes two parameters, num1 and num2. The function adds these two numbers and returns the sum. We can call this function, of course, by passing the parameters here. Yeah, values 2 and 5 here, 6 and 3, and here we pass 4 and 3. Yeah, just like that. We're passing the values and storing them, and where we didn't store them, we just printed them directly to the terminal, because if we want to store them, we could have used some kind of variable like result, and then call the function here, add numbers, and pass the two numbers here in here numbers, and then we could have printed the variable that stores the result of the function that we called, like this, print r. Yeah, well, basically this and this is the same thing. Yeah, just like the output is shown here. Yeah, well, of course there are two other types of functions built in, and and others that are defined by us. They are user-defined functions. The built-in ones are like the ones that we used in previous videos. Let me comment these. Examples of those built-in functions are the inputs function that receives data from the user. This one is a built-in function. It's already defined in the Python library. It comes with the Python library. All we have to do is to use it. Here we just call it, and the string that we pass over here is considered to be the parameter, because it uses it in its processing in order to receive the data from here in the CLI and stuff. Just like that. We also saw some other built-in functions like the len function, which we use mostly with arrays and tuples in order to calculate the count. Yeah, there are a lot of other ones. I mean, the print statement is in itself a function. You pass it some parameters and it prints them out. Easy peasy. Yeah. Well, yeah, I believe that's all there is to this video. We just saw functions and what they are. I mean, the more you use them, the more you get used to them, because they are, I mean, in a nutshell, they're just like a block of code that can be reused. They really make your life easier, and you know, they relieve you from a lot of code repetition that you don't need. Yeah, well, they are essential, of course, and they greatly improve your readability, because when you use functions, then you name that function and you give it a descriptive name, and by that you make the code more readable and efficient. Yeah. So yeah, we learned how to define and call functions and saw some examples of both built-in and user-defined functions. Yeah, I hope this tutorial has helped you understand functions better, and I encourage you to experiment with creating your own functions to see how they can simplify your code. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.